good morning and good evening and afternoon wherever you are in the world. Anyhow, as Terry said, I had been involved in the organization of the FieldComm Group, and it's the combination of the HART and FieldBus foundations into a single new entity. And as you'll learn as part of this presentation, the FDI technology is being developed in the independent, not-for-profit organization as well. And that organization, by design, is going to dissolve in July of this year, and all the FDI technology is going to move into the FieldComm Group. So it's kind of, you'll see on my slide coming up, it's going to be the center of gravity of the process automation industry. And so it's difficult to talk about, FDI EDDL without talking about the FieldComm Group. That's, a brief introduction there. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them as we go through the presentation. As I told you, the HART and FieldBus foundations, both the boards and all the members, approved the combination. Now, some people call it a merger, and it's really not a merger. We created an independent organization, and we called it the FieldComm Group, and then we moved all the assets and liabilities of each of the HART and FieldBus foundations into this new organization. So we, created this new thing, and then we pulled all the stuff from HART and FieldBus into it. So anyhow, this is just a press release, making that announcement. The FieldComm Group is intended to become, for process automation, the center of gravity for, digital communications and integration technologies. And so there's a little diagram, HART and FieldBus and FDI, all of that moving into the FieldComm Group. And then PROFIBUS International was also part of the development of the FDI technology. And as part of that organization, the FieldComm Group and PROFIBUS International have a legal obligation to collectively maintain the FDI technology. So that's what the dotted line is supposed to represent. So the FieldComm Group will, in essence, become an agent for the PROFIBUS International organization, and it will be the sole maintenance. I guess that's the best way to describe it. It's going to be the entity that maintains the FDI technology, and both PROFIBUS International and FieldComm Group will actually distribute the technology to their members, but only one source of the actual specifications and the software that's part of it. This is the FDI cooperation. It's a limited liability company, and this is the original slide that we put together to describe how it's being organized. But fundamentally, the purpose was to develop a single integration technology that is the combination of EDDL and the FDT technology. And it's really FDT2 technology that we're utilizing. And we're going to create this thing called the device package, an FDI device package. And there's more about that later. So here's the idea. We have this thing called the FDI device package, which consists of an DD, as you know it today, an electronic device description. This UIP is fundamentally an optional software application, and then some attachments. The idea is that within the host, you have a communication server. We have this thing called the EDD engine that interprets the device package, the contents of it, and executes it. And then we have a display engine. And those highlighted parts in green, that is what we call the components. So when you hear about FDI technology, you'll hear the words, the FDI tools and components. And the tools are the things that help create a device package and test it. And the components are those, the EDD engine and the UI engine that can be incorporated into the host. Okay, and this is a description of a native FDI host. Now, this is an explanation of a FDT host that will use the components to be able to read and execute the FDI device package. If you're familiar with the FDT DTM technology, a DTM is being created that includes the components, and that DTM will, fit inside the FDT2. They call it a frame, or it's really a set of interface services. You use those services, and it will then be able to read and execute the FDI device package, and then pass all that information on to the FDT host. Okay, and again, this is just an announcement from the FieldComm Group. The FDI technology, the first release of it was issued in the 10th of February. The board met and approved the release 1.0 of the FDI tools and components. Since the LLC is going to dissolve in July, it was decided that the FieldComm Group would be the place where anybody who wants to purchase the tools can go and get it. This is a press release saying that the FieldComm Group is ready to take orders for the FDI tools and components. Okay, so this is kind of a summary slide of really the tools. The FDI LLC created this thing called an Integrated Development Environment, an IDE. I think they call it an FDI package tool or something like that. I could have the terminology not quite right. It has all the capabilities to create a device package and to test it. So you can start with your source code, write your source for the EDD, tokenize it, and then package it in this tool in the IDE. And then there's a reference host. Although we changed the name of it, it's not called the reference host anymore. It's called the reference runtime environment. And the reason is it's not a true host. It is a place where you can render the DD that you're creating. I mean, there's no question about that. But it's kind of a one-on-one. It doesn't accommodate multiples. So it's designed to work one DD at a time, so to speak. So it's not a true host in that sense. This IDE, it's a single tool that you can use to create either a HART, a Foundation Fieldbus, Profibus DP, or Profibus PA DD for the host system. This first release, 1.0, only deals with what we call the online capabilities. So in order to create the DD, the device needs to be present. If you use this type of technology in your host, again, the host only has the online capability, so the device has to be present. We have a subsequent release coming in June, right before the dissolution, and it'll be release 1.1, and that has the offline capability where the device does not need to be present to create the DD and to interpret it. So, like if you want to, on large projects, that's what end users really want. On large projects, they go to the engineering firm and they design the process plant, and then they create all the configurations for the field devices. And clearly, the engineering firm just doesn't have the thousands of devices that would be needed for creating the configuration. And so that's what the offline capability is intended to provide. That capability to configure those devices before they actually have them in the process plant. Okay, and then we show the UIP, User Interface Plugin. That's what UIP stands for, and it's an optional software application because, as all of you know, the EDD language is somewhat limited. For example, it can only do 4-function math, but of course the advantage of it is independent of the operating system. So this, again, is the just another example of how the FDI technology will be incorporated into the FDT-based host. And it's an FDT2-based host, if you're familiar with that technology. So this DTM will be created that uses the components, and then it will be able to read and execute the FDI device package. So the plan here is, if you kind of take the big picture look, any field device supplier creates this FDI device package, and then any host that's FDI compatible, whether it's FDT based or FDI natively, can read and execute that package. And that, I mean, that's the whole goal. And it's really the supplier's choice as to, how he does that, or how, it is accomplished. Within the FieldComm Group, the HART technology is, going to be maintained and preserved and enhanced. The FieldBus technology is going to be maintained, preserved and enhanced, because these are the technologies that are going to deliver information to the host system. Part of Release 1.1, Profinet will be included as a communication technology. So after July of this year, the integrated development environment will be able to accommodate HART, Foundation FieldBus, PROFIBUS PA, PROFIBUS DP, and Profinet. And you'll be able to create a device package for all 5 of those communication technologies. And so within the FieldComm Group, branding of HART and Foundation FieldBus will be preserved. It's just that it's going to be done in a different environment, a different legal entity. And the purpose of the new legal entity is really, in terms of communication technology, to be neutral. The focus will be on developing the integration of the technology that's delivered by a variety of different communication protocols and getting that integrated into the host so that it can be utilized to the benefit of the end user. I mean, that's the real purpose of the FieldComm Group. Popular misconception is if they're going to create a new communications technology, and that's absolutely not the case. HART is going to be HART, FieldBus is going to be FieldBus, and Profibus is going to be Profibus. All we're going to do is make certain that there's a uniform way to get the information that they deliver into the host system. So you will register a HART device, you'll register a FieldBus device, you'll register a Profibus device at the new organization. But that's the essence of what the FieldComm Group difference is all about. As I told you earlier, the FieldComm Group is going to be the new home of FDI technology. It's I'm going to repeat myself here. It's being created in an independent legal entity, the FDI Cooperation LLC Limited Liability Company. It'll be dissolved in July of this year, and then all of that technology will be moved into the FieldComm Group. Just to reiterate what I already told you, you can purchase today a license for the FDI Release 1.0, both the IDE and the tool and the components, both the tools and the components. I should also mention, as part of Release 1.1, you'll see this thing called a test engine in there, and that will be included in Release 1.1. And fundamentally, it's what we call a package test tool. It will verify that all the elements of an FDI device package are present, and you can register it. Now, one last thing I should point out: I'm on the board of the FDI LLC, and what the board collectively decided is that in order to be a FDI device package and be registered as such, there's a certain minimum number of features that must be included in the FDI device package. It deals with, fundamentally the online menu, the offline menu. So this offline capability is going to be mandatory to be in the FDI device package. So what that really means is you can take the source for an existing DD today and put it into the IDE, but you will not be able to create a FDI device package with the existing source. You have to add certain features to it in order to be registered as an FDI device package. And it's partly because what the end user community is telling all the mainly the system suppliers is that when they have these large projects, and everybody does, they want to be able to have a convenient way to configure thousands of devices and then download those devices, the configuration to those devices in an expedient manner. The classic example, but Shell has created what they call their term is the Prelude project, and it's a floating platform that's 5 soccer fields in an area. I mean, that's a huge facility, and it's a floating liquefied natural gas plant, and it has somewhere in the neighborhood of 50,000 devices on it, both HART and FieldBus devices. Just imagine if it took you 30 minutes to configure every device. That's a lot of time. That's a lot of man hours, and so they want to be able to do that a little bit more expeditiously.
Yeah, this is Jonas. I've got a question for you. I mentioned, for the FDI packages, there will be like a certain minimum criteria, that they have to meet.
Yeah, a minimum feature set, yes.
And I suppose it would be the same maybe on the host end, that the host end would also be required to meet the minimum feature set, So one thing that comes to mind, okay, and that is like in the early days of DD, we used to have challenges, like some hosts support wizards, or methods, right? Some supports methods, some don't. Some of them supported conditionals, others didn't. Some of them supported graphics, some of them don't, So I'm very curious on the I like to say wizard. I guess is the official name is methods. So methods, conditional, and graphics are these required capabilities or feature sets?
Yeah, the answer is yes. My rule of thumb is okay. So we're talking about the host side now, and my rule of thumb is if you give a software engineer source code, because that's what the components are. They're delivered in the form of source code. You give a software engineer source code, he's going to change it because he can. Now, that's a bit of a cliche, but as you know, they're going to find some reason because each system is unique, and they're going to have to do some modifications in order to fit this code into their system. We recognize that at the FieldComm Group, and actually I proposed this to the board, and they accepted it. That there's a very comprehensive host system test that all hosts must pass in order to be registered as an FDI-based host. Whether it's FDT-based or native FDI, it doesn't matter. There's a mandatory set of features that every host has to meet. And as part of the FDI LLC, we are beginning to, we've created such a host test, but it's really not complete. It's still in the development process. And for those of you who are interested, the HART Foundation has recently released a host system test, and the FDI host test is based on that, but it goes, it's more comprehensive in the sense that when the HART system test was created, the FDI device package stuff didn't exist, so it's being extended to include all of that capability. But yeah, there will be a mandatory host system test. And in all honesty, I think that's one of the shortcomings we had in the early days of both HART and FieldBus in terms of the EDDL technology. We didn't have a uniform host implementation, and now we're going to try to impose that on the world. Give us some time. Release 1.1 is really going to be the ultimate release of the FDI technology. It'll take a while for the FieldComm Group to get up and running in terms of their testing procedures, but probably by the end of this year they'll be ready to test both host and FDI device package. I'll be glad to answer any questions if you have, but otherwise, Terry, it's all yours again.
Okay, well, really appreciate you taking the time today, Marty. It was a great overview of what's been going on and what we can look forward to. Well, thanks again.
Oh, you're welcome, Terry. I'm glad I was able to do it.